The June 27th Scott County Fiscal Court business meeting, and appreciate everyone being here. I'd like to ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Ms. Hamilton, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler?
Present.
Mr. Jones? Mr. Wallace? Mr. Corman?
Present.
Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Pratt?
Here.
Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Culbertson?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Present.
Rick out on the night.
Thank you. Yeah. With that said, then, our next agenda item is the consideration of our minutes from our previous meeting. Those minutes were shared via email. Are there any questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve as presented. A second from Mr. Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Transfers as presented. Questions or comments? Motion from Mr. Hostetler. Second from Mr. Ellis. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills and hand checks as presented. Would there be a motion to approve? Motion from Mr. Pratt. Second from Mr. Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That moves us to number 7, County Attorney Surplus. Mr. Culbertson, could you
Yeah.
share?
Miss Rupert, you want me to read this? Or sort of?
I sent it out.
It was distributed, a long list of...
Various office supplies that are no longer usable.
Yes.
Motion.
So, motion from Mr. Ellison.
Thank you.
Who do we have a second from? Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments to approve the surplus of those items? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, this next one is Planning and Zoning Road Adoption. J.R. Brandenburg is with us. J.R. has been down along with Ben Krebs and looked at this area. It's off of Ironworks Pike, and I've gone brain dead there for a second. Hidden Creek Estates, and it's off Ironworks Pike. This was shared by email. There's 44 single-family cluster lots out there, 7 preserved area lots, 25 plus acres, and then 2 HOA lots. Hidden Creek Drive is 4.1. Rocky Waters Way is 4,100 feet, and then Rocky Waters Way is 3,650 feet. Total length of roads is approximately 7,750 feet, or 1.47 miles. Roadway is 20 feet in driving width plus 2 feet rock shoulders and ditching in the sides, and everything's up to code. So, any questions on this request?
How good a shape is it in? I'm not driven. JR, how good a shape is it in?
It's good shape, yeah. They've done all the repairs. We've looked at this thing for the last 2 years, and they've recommendations on the repairs and everything, and we'll see them. And it's good shape, real good.
I think it was in the email, but I can't find it. I was going to ask, how long has this development been going? Several years, isn't it?
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 years probably.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the request?
I think this is maybe one of them. Been a few years since we had a cluster development. I guess the last one was on Ironworks too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a few years back.
Yeah.
So that's good to see. Those are actually set aside. That's actually a good deal.
Yeah. No, that set aside's awesome.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion, Judge.
Motion.
Second.
Second from Mr. Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Ordinance 2405, first reading, signs and flags. We have Elise with us. Elise, how are you?
Doing good.
Appreciate your help. And
Of course.
do you have any comments to the court?
No, this is just for everyone's recollection. We kind of talked about it probably about 3 weeks ago or
3
so.
weeks ago at the work session.
Yes. This is just an ordinance amendment to essentially get an additional section added that the city of Georgetown added, I believe in 2015, 2016, related to signs and flags. We previously did not have a qualification to allow for like non-commercial signs, so state flags, U.S. flags. We just treated them all the same. And so this gets us into alignment with the city of Georgetown, as well as would allow for consideration of some larger national pride flags if people are interested in putting that up.
Anyone have any questions related to this before Cam reads the summary?
All right. Scott County Fiscal Court Ordinance Number 24-05, an ordinance amending the Scott County sign ordinance regarding flags. Summary. 1. Amends the Scott County sign ordinance to define non-commercial flag and commercial flag. 2. Allows display of non-commercial flags not exceeding 32 square feet in area or attached to poles not exceeding 32 feet in height in all zoning districts without a permit. 3. Allows one non-commercial flag per parcel exceeding 32 square feet in area and or attached to a pole exceeding 32 feet in height to be displayed in certain districts with a conditional use permit. 4. Defines non-content-based criteria that must be satisfied for the conditional use permit. 5. Allows the Board of Adjustments to approve a smaller flag or a shorter pole when necessary to satisfy the criteria. 6. States that a permitted non-commercial flag that otherwise satisfies the requirements for a conditional use permit shall not be considered a sign for purposes of a limit on the number of signs in the applicable district. 7. Allows one commercial flag per parcel not exceeding 32 square feet in area or attached to a pole not exceeding 32 feet in height in commercial, industrial, and professional office districts. 8. Provides that commercial flags exceeding 32 square feet or attached to poles exceeding 32 feet in height are considered interstate signs. 9. Makes various amendments for consistency with revised provisions. And 10. Provides for severability, repeal of inconsistent ordinances, and effective date upon passage and publication. Publicly introduced and read for the first time June 27th, 2024.
Any other questions or comments related to this proposed?
Is there any
First
kind
reading.
of grandfathering in of existing flags or signs, or if somebody's got something up now?
Elise?
At this time, we're not aware of any ones that have been grandfathered in. The previous ordinance was pretty hard set on the rule, so even if we could have wanted, or if someone had a larger flag in the county and not in the city limits, it just, we never saw a permit for it or anything like that. So, yeah.
Okay.
I wish, but unfortunately, or fortunately, no. So,
Any other questions or comments? Would there be a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Ellison. Second from Mr. Pratt. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. We'll bring that back for second reading on the 12th. Resolution 2416, grant application, Emergency Solutions. Candace is with us. This information's been shared. Candace, could you just give us a brief summary and then answer any questions that the court might have related to the request?
Sure.
And the City Council has read their resolution and affirmed
Yes.
applying for the grant
Yes.
as well.
So this is similar to the grant that I brought to you all in the fall. It is through a different funding cycle. So this is the Emergency Solutions Grant through the Kentucky Housing Corporation. And it is for various different programs, but the two that we're requesting for funding for is the emergency shelter funds, which would go towards the White Flag or low barrier shelter that you all have been supporting at the gathering place. And so those funds would go there. And then the other portion of the grant is written for the rapid rehousing program, which is something that I've talked about before, but trying to get unhoused individuals into housing as quickly as possible, and assisting them with sustaining that housing until they are able to be on their own, whatever that looks like. So the goal is to try to move them off of the rapid rehousing program, but to get them into housing and get them started. And I can talk more about that if you want. And then the match breakdown is a little bit complicated, a little bit more complicated than a normal grant match, I feel, but we have different sources matching the grant, and then we, in order to get maximum amount of points, we wanted to match over 115%. And so between the county, city, and the gathering place, we did the breakdown that you, I guess, have in front of you.
So just to confirm, our budgeted amount that we support the shelter with already will count towards
Yes.
$7,500 of that.
Yes.
And then you broke down, I think it was $61,000.
Yes. So the EMA funds that you all already put towards the low barrier White Flag shelter count as the match for that portion of the grant, and so the additional funds would be rapid rehousing programming.
What would be a timeline for notification of award?
Very soon. Technically, the grant cycle starts July 1st. I don't know that they'll notify us before then, but that means to me that they're going to get back to us very quickly.
Questions or comments related to the application and request?
So we're going to match 115%. Would this be
To maximize your points,
Yes.
where is that if we only budgeted
we'll have to pull this out of reserve.
reserve?
Yeah,
What will be the total that then will the 61,000
61,000
will come out of reserve?
yeah.
And the reason that I wanted to make sure we got max points in that section is we are unable to get max points in the experience section because we've never had a program like this, and so it felt important to get all the points we could feasibly get to make our application strong.
So if this grant goes through and we do this, I'm just trying to understand, so where are you actually rapidly rehousing people at? I mean, will
Yeah.
it be at motels or?
Well, it would have to come through partnerships with landlords and property managers here in the community, trying to find units that can be set aside for rapid rehousing. And some of this funding is flexible, so helping pay for like security deposits and things so that way landlords feel good about clients moving in. And then case management happening while that client's living there, so they have somebody that they can call the client, but also they can be in communication with the case manager as well.
So have you already started having conversations with property owners?
Not officially because we don't have the funding, but I've spoken with property owners about it.
I mean, so that's where it's going to be. I mean, you got to find somebody that's willing to take. I guess they'll be working, trying to keep the costs down on their end. You know what I mean?
The property owner?
Yeah.
As long as it is in the fair market rent, we can calculate how much we're able to provide that assistance, but we wouldn't be asking for any discounts or anything.
Why not? They ask me for that stuff all the time in my business. Okay, I just.
I mean, if you have a property owner who gives us discount, I'm sure I'll pass it up. But
well, when we're done with this, I've got some other questions about the gathering place, and anyhow,
You're going to do that during new business?
we can.
Okay.
Be fine.
Okay.
Any other questions? Would there
This
be,
is just to go for the grant.
this is just to apply for the grant?
You need to read it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution Number 2416, a resolution of the Scott County Fiscal Court in support of an application for emergency solutions grant funding and authorizing the judge executive to sign all relevant documents. Whereas the Georgetown City Council and the Scott County Fiscal Court or county, through the creation of the Office of Affordable Housing and Homelessness Prevention, have expressed their desire to prevent homelessness and pursue affordable housing solutions and infrastructure within the community. And whereas the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, accepts applications for grant funding from continuum of care providers, which are the state agencies responsible for developing and implementing a comprehensive approach to addressing homelessness by providing a continuum of housing programs and services. And whereas the City of Georgetown desires to apply to the Kentucky Housing Corporation, the Continuum of Care Partner for Kentucky, for emergency solutions grant funding to support 2 critical projects, and the Gathering Place mission has agreed to partner with the county as required, and the city as required under the application guidelines to administer the projects. And whereas the first project is Rapid Rehousing, which is a tenant-based rental assistance program that operates a program within the community based on the Housing First model and seeks to move individuals without housing into housing as quickly as possible, provide intensive wraparound services, and ultimately transition the individuals into sustainable housing. And whereas the second project is the emergency shelter, which will provide funding to support the operation of the White Flag Shelter that is run on the Gathering Place Missions campus and is partially funded through the Georgetown Scott County Emergency Management Agency, or EMA, budget. And whereas the total cost of the federal grant funding request is $150,000, broken down into $100,000 for rapid rehousing and $50,000 for emergency shelter. And whereas the grant application scoring matrix provides maximum points for applicants prepared to provide a matching funds in excess of 115% of the requested federal allocation. And whereas the proposed cash and in-kind match is attached hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated as though set forth fully herein. And whereas the county's matching funds will be allocated via future budget amendment, except that the $7,500 in matching funds for the emergency shelter program were previously allocated through the approved EMA budget. Now therefore be it resolved by the Scott County Fiscal Court that the Scott County Fiscal Court hereby supports the City of Georgetown's application for the Emergency Solutions Grant in the amount of $150,000 in federal funding and approves $61,250 in local match funds toward the Rapid Rehousing Program, in addition to the $7,500 in local match funds toward the Emergency Shelter Program, which were allocated through the approved EMA budget. The Judge Executive is hereby authorized and directed to execute any documents as necessary in furtherance of this resolution. This resolution shall be effective upon its enactment by the Scott County Fiscal Court this 27th day of June 2024.
Thanks, Cam. Any questions or comments? And, you know, I would make comment that this would allow for the office to really help address two issues. And, you know, you've got to have funds to help make a difference. And the continuum of care and trying to connect people to services, but it's very difficult to do it if they don't have a roof over their head. So any other questions or comments? And would there be a motion?
Question.
Yes, sir.
I see some of the matches coming from Gathering Place, right?
No.
Well, for the emergency shelter.
Yeah,
part.
but it's already the funds that we've allocated in next year's budget.
Oh,
So
okay.
it
that,
kinda,
that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
So
that counts as
It's not additional.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's additional.
Well, part of the match is coming from the Gathering Place itself. So the money that they're already putting towards the White Flag Low Barrier Shelter will be able to count for part of the match.
Right.
So some of it will be coming from the Gathering
I
Place.
guess my question is, where do they get most of their funding or all of their funding? I know that the county funds.
We've allocated funds for them, but they do a huge amount of fundraising.
Okay.
And
You're talking about the Gathering Place, is that your?
Yes.
yeah, they do a lot of fundraising. And
That's who's this. You know, the
Yeah.
5,000.
Private donations.
Churches, you know, all kinds of stuff.
So that's what they have other sources besides.
Yeah, it's just
that was
not
my question.
Yeah, it's not solely from county or city. Any other questions? Good question, Rick. Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Mr. Ellison.
Second.
Second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Fire Department agreement, we got Jeff, we got Chief Baker here on the scene as well. Chief, Jeff, thank you. This was discussed previously, just the agreement. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Judge and Magistrates. Yeah, we have discussed this recently at I think it was at the workshop was when we brought it up. And I worked with Chief Ward, Assistant Chief Baker, and Cam Culbertson's also had a chance to review it as well. This is a contract we would like to put in place for our new recruits. And what the key purpose of this is to require the individual to reimburse the county if they leave employment within 3 years of graduation from the academy. And largely the purpose of this is to protect the time and expense the county devotes to the selection process. Things like training, gear, uniforms, just everything involved with that 14-week training program that we put our new recruits through. So this is modeled very similar to the program we put together with the Sheriff's Department. So unless there's any other questions and things, I'd be glad to answer those. But in addition, instead of referring to it as approximately $27,000, we're going to use the exact amount of $27,160. When we developed this contract, we didn't know who we'd all be hiring, and we didn't know what their pay rates would be. So now that we know that they're all going to be paid the exact same amount, we can go with that exact amount of $27,160.
I think it's, being physically responsible. We put a lot of time and effort into the process. You buy turnout gear, chief turnout gear, significant expense, and then the time, 14 weeks, and we're making a commitment to that employee, and we just want to make we want to ask for a commitment from them, and I think this makes sense. It's a good business, and would value input and feedback from you all.
I just have a
Ryan?
One question. Isn't the EMS and the SO, don't they pay it all back if they leave within the 3 years or whatever their time frames are? Like this one was prorated. I just didn't know what the
With the SO,
The SO was I thought they were prorated.
I believe it's prorated also. But the thing that's different about the SO is that the employee is not the one responsible for repayment. It's the hiring service.
The entity that's trying to hire them away.
Oh, that's right. The other. That's right.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Pay out the contract.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So honestly, I wish it was the entire amount.
Good question, though. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, just kind of on his question, I guess, what are the teeth in it? Like, can you garnish? I guess we're not going after them, and I like it. I just don't know. I've seen things like this in the corporate world that are just really tough to enforce unless you file a lawsuit. And
I get it. All we could do is put it out there and hope that, it doesn't get challenged. And if it does, we have a provision in there, too, that says if we have to pursue a person to get reimbursed, then they have to also cover the attorney costs and the court fees associated with recouping the money. So, but I agree. Will it come to that? I hope not.
Get there, right?
Yeah.
right, but, yeah.
I think,
Because they know it going in.
Yeah, they do.
And you're going to know it up front.
And they've already discussed this with them within the last 2 weeks. We even discussed it with them during the interview process, that this would be an expectation that
If
they would
they
have.
left to a non-competing agency, they just got out of what they were doing, and it's something totally different, then we would probably have to file suit if they didn't
Yeah, I think that your point is well taken. You have to file a suit and
pursue it.
garnish, and
And
that'll be
see
$100
where
a
it went.
month for the rest of their life. But
And
whatever judge decides they can afford. But
And honestly, if a person's in their last 6 months of the agreement, would we really go after them?
sure.
I don't know. But
Anyway,
I hope that it doesn't come to that.
So,
Rick,
well, we got similar with Chief Runyon. Have you had, we've been doing this with EMS for a few years now, right?
Yeah, it's set up a little different with us. It's just for the training. So we don't, when we hire in, they can leave, but if they want to go to EMT school or paramedic school, then they sign that contract. And it's a 3-year contract, but each year they are employed, a third of it is forgiven. If they work the full 3 years, we're even. But if they leave a year in, they'd owe us 2/3 of what we paid for them to go to school.
Right. But that'd be from the individual. But
And the maximum that one is $6,000, right?
Well, when the BCT started, I think it went up a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
But you have not had any of those, I mean, obviously, who knows what the future has, but you've not had any issues, right?
Questions or comments? Anything else?
I'll make a motion. I'm all for it. I think it's a start.
All right, motion. Second for Mr. Ellison. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Mudrex is just going to stay up there, and we'll talk about the parental leave policy that we've discussed previously. Jeff, would you just summarize briefly, and then
Absolutely. Yeah, of course, we discussed this at the workshop also. The parental leave policy that I've shared with you by email just the other day provides 2 weeks of leave for the purpose of bonding with a new child, and a person must be employed in a full-time capacity for at least 12 months to be eligible for this program. What I would like to do is to make this policy effective July 1st. If it is approved, I'll add the policy to the employee handbook and distribute to employees on Monday. Any questions or?
have to take all 10 days in consecutively,
Consecutively, that's right.
and have to be here at least a year.
Does it begin the day of birth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it commences at the time of birth, yeah, so it's that immediate 2-week period.
But just another opportunity for recruitment and retention of employees, and it's a benefit that a lot of, from what you've shared, a lot of people
Yeah.
are looking at.
Well, like I indicated, that 4 in 10 employers are now offering this. There's a slow, gradual increase in the number of employers offering this type of benefit. I only expect that that's going to continue. And, you know, I gave you some examples of some other counties and cities in the Bluegrass area that are offering a benefit like this. And, you know, it ranges, at least for the ones that are doing this, between 4 and 6 weeks typically. So I think 2 weeks is a very, you know, reasonable approach to start with for us.
But I think our workforce keeps getting younger and younger.
Absolutely. We do have a young workforce, especially when you can retire typically if you're in Tier 1 or Tier 2 within a short period of time, especially if you're in hazardous duty.
I think it's a good idea.
Motion. Second for Mr. Pratt. Rick, question, comment?
A question, I think it's covered here, but I know we talked about if it's a lady has their own child or an adoption, it would be effective the day of the adoption, right? You know, or the date of birth. But there are folks, you mentioned it about fostering, you know, some people foster multiple children and they don't all come at once. But it looks like the way you've got it written up, it would just be in a 12-month period. If they fostered one child or if they fostered 5, it would just be.
It'd just be 2 weeks, yes.
Gotcha. Because I mean,
now, if 2 months had passed, 2 months, 12 months had passed, they'd be eligible for another 2 weeks.
But yeah, if they got more during that. Because I mean, some foster families foster more than one.
Right.
Sometimes 3 or 4, and they don't always get them at the same time, and they're not always the same family.
Yeah.
You know, the kids are not always siblings. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But
And what this policy also indicates is that if you have a multiple births or if you foster multiple children at once, you don't get 2 weeks per child. It's just 2 weeks total.
Right, and that's part of my question, but it looks like that's covered. I just want to clarify.
Yes. Yeah.
The way I was reading it, looks like that's covered.
No.
And I'm assuming it works like folks on the fire department with their shifts. Is that still like a 2-week period?
Yes, in the policy it indicates that a day is counted just like the accrual rate for sick leave. So their day is a 12. They earn 12 hours of sick leave a month. That's their day. So they're going to get 10 days, which 2 12-hour days cover a shift, so they basically get 2 weeks just like everybody else does.
Any other questions? We have a motion, we have a second. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then Road Department new hire,
Yeah.
JR and Jeff's been working together on this. JR's
Well, since I was on vacation, JR's done more work on this one than I
JR
have.
took care of this one.
But yes, I had a discussion with Jeff McCreary as well, and we also did reference checks and a background check and things of that nature. But on behalf of JR Brandenburg, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Jeff McCreary as an equipment operator laborer with CDL. That would be effective Monday, July 8th at $23.82 an hour. So I'll
Questions or
present that
comments?
recommendation to you.
This would leave JR with one vacancy. And still looking for vacancies to be filled. Motion from Rick. Second from Kelly. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. That brings us to new business, and we'll, allow for public comment here after we talk about new business, if any public comments desired. Want to just share that the Hall of Justice bids were originally due today at 2:00. However, several requests for more time after the last addendum that was advertised through Lynn Imaging. So the bid date has been pushed to July 2nd at 2. So that is next week at 2:00 on July 2nd.
Tuesday.
Yes. Just felt like, why not? You want to make sure you get as many competitive bids as possible. So that's that. I'd like to ask Andrew to put up the slide of the element proposal. This is, I sent this late today after I received it from Ramona with Element Design. Element Design worked with us at the Lyle Road Soccer Complex, did a great job. This is what I would propose we putting out to bid. We put the money in the budget for this, and it would add 2 tennis courts that would allow for high school tennis matches to be played at this site, and then it also adds 8 pickleball courts, at that site as well. As you can see, we pushed the pickleball courts over a little bit towards the tennis courts to allow for 8 feet in between courts, and there's a little small fence, like just a 4-foot fence in between courts, and then there's 10 feet from baseline to a fence. So that's the general recommended spacing for those, and I think it uses the space. You could have gone with 6, but don't think the cost to do 2 more will, I don't think it'll be significant. It'll be more, but it's using the space and allowing for multiple players and multiple groups to be able to play. And I went up to look at this because Element had done this in Lexington at Kirk Levington Park. And in the middle of the day on a Friday, about 2:00, they had 8 courts. I think they had 8 courts. They might have had more, but it was packed in the middle of the day, and it's just really popular right now. People from all ages are out there playing, and I think it'd be a positive thing for us to move forward with going out and putting this out to bid.
I know we've talked about KHSAA, and for the district to be able to host, we got to have 6 court. They would need access to 6 courts, correct? Is there any? I'm sorry.
You can't host even a normal.
Okay, so
Not
even
in a region, you can't
okay,
host.
can't host at all.
Right.
Okay. Is there anything, do you know, Dwayne, if there's anything in KHSAA that says anything about lining a court for pickleball and not being able to host?
You put pickleball on tennis, you mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think there is.
Okay.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure there is.
All right.
Well, tennis folks get pretty ticky, about any lines.
I don't do either one of them, so I don't know.
'Cause
Okay.
I know we have fought with that on like some grant money that we've got tied into some of our other tennis courts.
Yeah, well, I know those 4 up there that we can't do it on those because.
Because of USTA money.
Right, is involved.
That was involved.
Yeah.
I do believe you might be able to get, I don't know. I don't know 100%. I can find
Okay.
out though.
All right. My other question on this too is parking. If you host a tournament, I mean, should we look at maybe like we did at the softball fields where we expanded the gravel parking lot in an area there? I mean, because I think, JR, your folks did that on their, you all did that in the road department, didn't you? You're really looking at me like I just need to shut my mouth, but that's okay.
I don't know. I think he might be okay. There's a lot of parking spots right there. There's probably, what, 30, 40? I mean, tennis has like,
I think there's about 30 and.
Well, I guess if you had tennis and pickleball going, I guess it would be.
But I just, let's build it, they will come, and then we'll look at it.
I'm just looking ahead if, what that could look like.
Are you suggesting
If
a
there's
parking fee, David?
No, I'm just saying, I mean, you've got 8 pickleball courts. If there's a tournament that's hosted out there, you could have quite a few people.
No,
It might need to be looked at with the contract that we do have with the school system. If you're having more events out there, does that factor into the overall?
But,
Tennis courts have lights.
It's using it more.
but the parking on the other side of the cloverleaf is, they just have to walk straight through. David.
Working.
Right.
Like, this doesn't show it, but the cloverleaf, when something's going on, 9 times out of 10, the cloverleaf's going to be open. They can walk straight through. I mean, that's but certainly something to get. Your comment is well received, and
Because
certainly
when we built the cloverleaf, we didn't build enough parking.
no,
And
we
that
had
became
to.
a problem.
Never
Yeah,
enough parking, and it costs way too much to do parking.
yeah. So the proposal includes, she mentioned drone flight and map for relative topographical information to assist with development of the base map to help provide parameters for bidding. She's going to put in there that we've already graded most of it, but because we are going out of the footprint just a little bit, needed to do that. Development of construction plans and details for the pickleball courts, tennis courts immediately adjacent to the current tennis courts at the park. Up to 3 site visits and limited assistance reviewing shop drawings, submittals, and construction progress. She's going to just do that limited construction assistance. And then storm drainage submittal to the City of Georgetown is not anticipated or included, as this is a county property project. Don't believe we'll have to do any stormwater. We didn't have to do any on Lyle Road. So, talking to her, trying to, this is not, typical like 7.5%, 8%, what some architects would pay. That's where her proposal is up to $10,000, not to exceed $10,000. And to be honest with you, I think she just put that in there to be a little bit safe. But I don't believe it'll be as it's not going to, for sure won't go over 10, but I don't think it'll be that much.
But, I mean, the biggest thing I always worry about is making sure they get the base right, so they don't crack and bust over time. So whatever they can do to make sure that gets done right.
Yeah, and that's something we'll talk to her about maybe having Jordan Haney come out from Thoroughbred and check the compaction. Yeah.
Are we looking at lights on this or no?
So the original money the budget that I shared with you all included what Kurt Mickey shared with me, what it would cost to put the same amount of lights that are on the tennis courts. That was the budget that I shared. And yes, this will include, the bid package will include lighting. My question is, should we do that separately? You know what I'm saying?
If you buy it, well, you can buy Musco lighting sometimes cheaper straight.
Well, we bought Musco lighting before off the Sourcewell competitive bid package, and that worked well because they already pre-bid it out.
Right. Get a locked-in number, and the sub doesn't drive up the cost.
But it doesn't when you host tournaments.
I was out there the other day, we were out there the other day, and there's a sign when you're going in that says the park closes at dark. So I was thinking, why do you need lights if the park is closed at dark? But you're saying, I'm just saying, it's just what it says. So I was like, why do we need to pay for lights if it's closed? You don't need lights if it's not dark. But David said it for hosting tournaments.
I'll be honest, and if somebody's down there playing tennis, I'm not gonna, I think that sign's generally to keep teenagers from going down and hanging out in the parking lot and drinking beer and doing other things. So
Mine go play tennis.
that just gives
With the lights.
that gives the sheriff's department and
I hope not.
yeah. So would there be any other questions?
Have a motion?
We need a motion to, I'd like a motion to
I'll make a
approve.
motion.
So we have a motion, second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pardon? All right. And then I shared this via email, but, we have done a lot of work, net device, and we can't share a lot because of HIPAA, but the net device, one individual from Scott County has one client has gone through the treatment and is moving forward. So that's about as much as we can say, but I'd like Rick knows a little bit too, and if you'd like to make a comment. They're very limited what you can say.
Yeah, because of hip and things. I do think that they've gotten 3 or 4 clients, but only one that I'm aware of from Scott County. I do know that there are other people being talked to in Scott County about it. So,
And they've reached out to you, Cam,
Yeah, I
haven't
had a
they?
phone call today with Rebecca Much, is their new kind of outreach person. And she came to the fiscal court and spoke that
she
presentation.
shared her experience. She's been treated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so slow, it took me towards the end of the conversation until I connected that's who it was. But anyway, we talked about various folks I recommended she reach out to, like judges, first responders, local public defender's office, things they're trying to reach out to the jail, that's a great one. And I also have her contact information, so if any of you all want to reach out and call, maybe there's people with the school or something, I don't know. But it was a good conversation, and we talked about who she could reach out to
Yeah,
try to get it going
I
off the
actually
ground.
talked with her about what do we do. So really, if you know of somebody, people know of somebody.
Have we plugged it in yet with the needle exchange at the health department and stuff?
I've talked to Dr. Miller about
Yeah, and that's another really good
about
point.
when their clients pick up, sharing the information, sharing
brochure or something.
She talked about the probation offices, reaching out to them.
Yeah. But
Another suggestion, and we talked about it briefly, but I can't remember when, but with
Brandon
Rimley, because they mentioned that back in January, February, when we were talking to them that first round, when it was still going to be a study before they got FDA approval, about, Brandon would have probably some contacts already, folks are there already helping. I don't know if that's true or not, Chris, but I think he really needs to get, in my opinion, needs to get kind of plugged in with Rebecca, and we can get her.
Can we help coordinate that? Thank you, Chief.
I think we should also maybe do some liaisoning. I don't know. Reach out to the hospital. Outreach
That's
to
a
the hospital.
French word.
Yeah.
Liaisoning.
Yeah, liaisoning with the hospital. I mean, especially the ER. They see people in the acute phases all the time. So.
Yeah. No, I agree.
One of the things that Judge, and of course y'all know how passionate I am about it, and one of the things that help even drive that passion is that video, the final fix. I don't know if everybody up here watched it. I know I've shared it with everybody, but I've been sharing it with folks for months, if not a year or better, and especially here recently. And when those folks, when you see that docudrama of actual 5 guys getting treated with that device, people, when you see that, even I've talked to people recently, and I say, take a look at that. I've talked to some folks that are addicted just recently, and they go, I've never heard of it. I go, well, it's just kind of it's not brand new on the scene. It's been around 50 years, but it just got FDA approval. But when you see that, that helps, and I'm willing to share that with anybody that wants to see it. It's on Amazon Prime. I don't know. David and I haven't talked in a long time about it, but he had a comment when you watched it.
I actually brought it up at the CAECO board retreat that we hosted in Scott County, because we were talking about the opioid money and all that during one of the sessions, and I brought it up about what we were partnering with Isaiah House and everything, and what we were hoping to happen, because there were quite a few elected officials from other counties that were contacted to participate in the study, and they were hesitant, and I just looked at that the FDA has cleared it.
Right.
So now's your time to reach back out and see how it can help your community.
Yeah.
So good, positive news, and we just hope that more individuals will understand about the opportunity and then maybe take advantage of the opportunity, and it helps them reduce the withdrawals from opioids, and then maybe get connected with services and get on a path away from addiction. So
I'm glad you brought that up, Judge. That's just another comment I want to make, because I work in construction, and there's a lot of that around, guys coming in, and so, but that's one of the big deals that I see that are a potential issue. I say that positively. These folks can get treated. That's not the end of it. Most of the time, they're pretty badly. I'll be careful how I say this, because I'm not trying to be derogatory, but they got broken lives, and so those wraparound services that many of these, like the Isaiah House, apart from the net device, they're just partnering and allowing them to use their facility. I don't know what that looks like, but that's a partnership that the net device folks and the Isaiah House that's the only place they're treating, from what Rebecca told me, is the Isaiah House. And the men are going to Willisburg, and the ladies are going to Harrodsburg. Isaiah House has a facility in Harrodsburg. But those wraparound services are also needed from places like Isaiah House, and there's many other treatment facilities that are helping. So there's still a need there to help those folks come all the way back, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah. And I think our partnership with the Isaiah House here helps.
Exactly.
And it's very good. One other piece of new business that I need to ask you all for feedback on is we've had a request from Amber Hoffman with the Elections Department, and I guess the Elections Board officially. They're making a request. They're concerned about having enough early voting space, and they'd like to add this room as an early voting location, October. One time only. Because after the construction of our sheriff's office / clerk's annex, we can have an early voting center there in the basement. So October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd, that'd be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No one could come in here. It'd be locked down. The issue is that we would have to cancel our work session there in November, or move it to a different day. So I just wanted your all's feedback. They're concerned about having enough space and locations because it's a presidential election. And then also it was mentioned that the cannabis business constitutional amendment will be on the ballot as well, and they just want to make sure that they have plenty of space to adequately address the need. And
They have it here and the library?
here and the library as early voting locations.
I'm good with it. I think it's great.
Okay. Any other feedback?
Do you need a motion?
No. I just wanted your all's feedback.
Schedule the workshop if
Yeah.
you want to when the time comes.
No. Yeah. So I think Stacy, let's make sure we communicate to her first thing that they can go ahead with that early voting. But we'll have to lock this room down. So that'll be the
JR,
case.
how hard will it be to get everything here, though? It'd be pretty hard to get everything up here, though, won't it?
That stuff's much smaller and so.
We have elevators nowadays.
Our workforce is getting younger.
So that,
I think it works.
so
Got some elevators I don't know about.
I have no other new business. Does anyone else here on the court have any new business that you all want to share? If not, anyone?
What?
Yes, sir.
Still sticking on new because I want to go back to some old if we can.
No.
Well, I wanted to ask about, there's 3 or 4 places about right in, right out only. I don't know if you've had any more discussions because they were all state highways, right?
Yeah.
The bypass.
So the plan that I've had discussions with Devin Golden and Mayor Jenkins was to jointly, write a letter with request of about 3 or 4 spots. I'm meeting with them the second week of July, and that's one of the
I
topics.
think it's like Lusby Path.
Yep.
Out there on Rural King.
Yep. Right in, right out, only there.
And if there's anything that can be done, I can't remember the name of the street now, where Fat Cats is at, and that apartment community back in there. Remember there was a fatality, probably been a month or 6 weeks ago now, and I had a constituent call about could there be a traffic light. I think you already went straight to Kelly Baker.
I did, and that'll be a very difficult one.
Well, but as they eventually, I'm thinking it's going to be 4-laned all the way from Bourbon County eventually, 460.
Well, it's only 2.
Well, I'm
Wide shoulders and.
right.
They're
I
wide,
mean, upgrade.
Right.
Yeah, widening. I'm sorry, I did say 4-lane. That wasn't what I was thinking, but the widening. I was hoping that they could make some considerations when that happened. I don't know if they can or not. I know that's a pretty tight spot.
Yeah. But no, make sure that's on that list. Again.
I can't remember the name of that street that's over there by Fat Cat.
Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to talk about, and Candace already left, but I've run into several people recently who are homeless, and the only place I know to recommend is the Gathering Place, and they keep, these folks are calling and they're full. And I was wondering what's available down there and whatever happened with that portable classrooms and how did that play out? And
Well, the portable classroom, after the state building inspection came through, and I believe I discussed that with everybody on the court.
yeah,
That
but so that we can't use it.
the cost would just be,
Maybe you did tell
I mean,
me.
it
Yeah.
got up to like 50,000
Yeah.
or you could buy a brand new one for 110.
so what they are doing,
I thought,
they're applying for other grant money that would help build a permanent 1-story simple shelter that would meet the
They
need.
got the property already.
Oh, yeah.
I
And
thought
they're actively applying for other grant money to help address that.
Well, I knew they were limited, and folks were telling me, and I said, well, have you tried the Gathering Place multiple times? So in this hot weather, I'm sure they've probably been at capacity, I'm assuming. So I just wanted to ask about that.
Roy?
D&D, DNR, the mobile home place just south of Kentucky River, off I-75. We've got a 60 by 90 modular building down there. It came off the Bluegrass Army Depot, sold surplus. He priced it to deliver to a local site at $50,000. It's a commercial building, basically one big room. There's got a bathroom, men and women's on one end, a small private room, like a conference room, and otherwise a big room. A bunch of dividers in their offices, drop ceilings, heat and air. It'd be hard to beat it.
Could you set it on a foundation, Roy?
Yep.
That's what we had, but the state came in and said,
But-
had to upgrade everything.
But it might be a case where we could, like, get the footprint and get pictures of it and see what the state would say.
They called me about me might want to park in Florida, ship to Florida, so they act on it.
Well, I'll get with you after this, and we'll talk next day or so, and okay. Appreciate it. Any other new business from anyone in our audience that would like to address the court? Well, with that said, then that concludes our agenda. There's one other topic. We have work session next week, July 5th, after the 4th. How many people are going to be out of town? Anybody going to be out of town? Okay, just one. So we'll move. We don't know about those two, but
Can I zoom?
we'll do a Zoom. Yes, sir. So with that said, then is there any other anything else? And then would there be a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I think Dwayne got it, and then David Livingston with a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.